Hi,
Hello,
welcome to the podcast. This is Micah,
this is Jordan,
and this is the Macaw Podcast Universe.
where we exist to prove people wrong when they say sequels are never better than the originals.
And we have been, so we're going to have to go back all the way to the beginning here because we have been covering a series. I'm taking off my shirt because it is now the summer season of podcasting, which means you can't turn on your air conditioner or fans, which means that you roast when you record. Hey, so we have been covering the Planet of the Apes series. We've gone through every single entry, and then a new one came out. Now, I just want to refresh the listener. I know we've mentioned it a couple times during this podcast, but Jordan and I had only seen... No, I'm sorry. Jordan had seen Rise. We had both seen the Tim Burton movie.
And Planet.
And we had both seen Planet of the Apes. But in my mind, it was kind of like, we both were like, oh yeah, the original Planet of the Apes is great. That's that.
It's an SCC.
Yeah, Stone Cold Classic, yes. Just translating in case anyone doesn't know. But
then flash forward to this year that it is, 2024, the year of our Lord.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what movie we were seeing, but we were at the movies.
Well, like, I had seen this trailer a couple of times.
That's right. You and I saw it separately. This is what it was.
Yeah.
You saw it separately because you saw probably Killers of the Flower Moon.
Maybe, yeah.
And then, because we saw the movie separately because of how long it is and having a newborn.
And I knew this movie was coming out, but I was just like, oh, they're making another one of those. Weird, is what I thought.
Yeah, we always let each other know, like, these are what trailers I got.
We'll usually text each other only during that part of the movie if we're seeing a movie separate. And then, of course, put the phone away.
Oh, of course. But we both brought up later, like, oh yeah, and I saw this one movie. The trailer started out, and it was like, wow, what is this? Is this an eagle flying through this beautiful wilderness landscape? And then I see an ape, and I'm like, wow, they're still doing these for one.
Yeah.
That's weird to me.
And you know, the trailer's like, you don't know everything, and it's like this big sweeping sound, and
then you have an ape screaming, "What a wonderful day!"
Yes,
and interest peaked, and then we saw a movie together in theaters, and we got that trailer again.
And we hadn't discussed this with each other, I don't think.
No, but so this trailer's playing, which we had already seen and had discussed. Like, this was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Trailer's going, we both turn to each other, we're like, we got to see this movie, right?
Yeah.
This trailer is so good, and I hate trailers.
Yeah.
Just because I see them so much.
Yeah.
That I could do without it.
Well, and often, I'm trying to think of a recent example, but trailers can sometimes make me like I get to a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to see this movie because I've seen this trailer so many times.
Yeah.
I saw this Planet of the Apes trailer, I don't know, probably 8 times in theaters. And every time I was like, oh man, I gotta see this movie. Like, it actually worked.
Yeah.
And I, even the other day, I rewatched it before we went and saw the movie because I was just like, I want to see that trailer again. It's so good. It is like the quintessential trailer.
So us covering Planet of the Apes has all led up to this trailer.
and I looked at the schedule
of this trailer
because I was like, we could watch the last 3 movies and we could go see this movie just on our own. Mm-hmm. But I thought, wait a second, if we rearrange our schedule, we can line this up almost perfectly. I know the movie came out 3 weeks ago as of this date, but we lined it up. And if you've been listening as this series has been going on, Jordan and I have become obsessed with Planet of the Apes, and we love it.
You love it.
I after seeing this movie, I am happy to say, and I'm gonna say it. I am gonna say it here. This is my favorite movie series, and I'm excluding trilogies from that equation just because I don't want to deal with Lord of the Rings. I don't want to deal with the Before trilogy or the Colors trilogy.
Sure. Okay.
Because there could be like thematic, yeah. But like long-running franchises.
This is without a doubt the best long-running franchise that's ever been done. without a doubt.
The only argument I could hear is Mission Impossible.
Well, I would also say, but you do have two stinkers, is Harry Potter. But I know some people would probably, there are people that are like, oh, the movies suck, the books are better.
Yeah.
Fantastic Beasts is obviously, those movies are trash. But the Harry Potter, just proper, consistently great movies. You do have to acknowledge that.
Well, but see, that's the weird thing with like the
Lord of the Rings, where I'm
there's
like asterisks to it. Yeah.
And this one is like, I'm not counting the Burton movie, but even if I count the Burton movie, I'm like, yeah, like I would just skip that one, but I'd watch all the other ones again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't dislike even the bad original Planet of the Apes movies.
Mm-hmm.
I love these movies. I anticipate I will watch them often. Ish for me, who doesn't rewatch a lot of movies. Although this month we've been rewatching a lot of movies, and it's been feeling great.
Mm-hmm.
So I love this series. I think I've been a little amazed because we've been doing this podcast for 6 years now, right? 5 years,
so.
For 6 years. We just recorded the anniversary episode. I should remember what year it is.
I think you said 6.
Yeah. Okay. And no, I feel like it's got to be 5.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. We've watched a lot of series, and a lot of times, like when we can watch our own movie, it's very rare that Jordan and I are gonna pick a movie that is part of a series anymore, because it kind of takes the sheen off of it when you're doing it like as a quote job unquote. Even though we have a lot of fun watching movies like that, and this was the first time that we were covering, again, a long running franchise where I was just like, I was so swept up in it that it became something like I felt like a kid in a way I haven't since The Force Awakens came out, where like when that movie came out, I felt like a kid again. And the Planet of the Apes is like, I'm like having an experience of being like a 7-year-old and feeling like I want to watch these movies over and over and over and over again. And so this is truly special to me now. And I love it. So I'm obsessed with it now. I've been reading comics on Marvel Comics. And I like have Googled stuff, like questions I have, because I'm like interested by the world in a way, like when I was a kid, I'd buy a Star Wars novel, or, I mean, I guess I still read Spider-Man. I'm obsessed with that, but it's different. It's just different. I am just like so swept away with Planet of the Apes, and I love it, and I can't recommend it enough. And we're going to get into all the thoughts, and we're going to keep it spoiler free at first here. But this movie absolutely slam dunks. I mean,
so good. It's so good.
So if you needed our recommendation and you're wondering, go see the movie, then listen to the episode, because this movie rocks so hard.
Guys, they figured out birds. We've figured it out.
Yeah, this is the first movie where birds looked I couldn't tell.
The only thing that we had mentioned that a bird has looked as good as these birds looked is the raven. Is it a raven? And Sandman.
Oh my gosh.
That one's like, it looks real. I don't
get how they did
the fact that
either.
it's a Netflix show, it's like unbelievable how
It's
good
crazy.
that bird looks.
Yeah.
But the eagles in this movie, I don't know. They're real, I guess, including the apes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that alone, this movie, and so not only does the FX look incredible, the sets are super cool, and
Absolutely.
the locations are beautiful.
This is and I actually heard this on a different podcast I was listening to, but they were mentioning there was a guest. I'm forgetting his name. I think his name might have been Dave Thomas. He was a guest on BO Boys. They were previewing the weekend, and he had just seen the movie like on the Wednesday before, and he said, I think, which is rare these days, I think people are going to leave this movie and tell people like, you have to see it because it's beautiful. Which you don't really hear that with blockbusters.
No, you don't.
And it is true.
Yeah.
It's colorful. It's big. It does feel like, man, you have to see this in a theater. And it hits that rare thing. Like, so this is something I wanted to talk about a little bit. Is this movie, to me, this series, this new, I'll just talk about the rebooted series, takes the Avatar approach. And I'm surprised that Disney is allowing that to happen so far.
What do you mean?
because right now there's the Star Wars and the Marvel approach, which is like,
Oh, they're taking their time to make the movie.
yeah, they're not rushing these movies. The
Yeah.
last movie came out 7 years ago for Planet of the Apes.
That's crazy.
And now there is a merger with Fox involved.
Okay.
So there's that. But like, and it seems like by all accounts, like they let them write the movie. They let them like make the movie. There wasn't like, we have to hit this deadline. I know they did with Dawn, they had that, but that worked out just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think that they're allowing this franchise to act like, as we were getting closer, I was noticing, okay, the Planet of the Apes fan base is small, but people are like excited to go see this movie. And it's not just like, oh, I'm excited because I want to see what cameo is going to be in the end credits. It was like, I am excited to see what the story of this movie is, which is not, it's like, oh, cool, another Star Wars show. Oh, cool, another Marvel show. And there is some cool stuff in all of that stuff. But it is like, there's this, like, for me, I've gotten to this point where with both of those franchises, it's a little bit like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're going to make a Mandalorian movie. Okay, sure. I'll probably love it. I'll probably have a heck of a time and forget about it when I leave. And Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes felt like this was a special event. And there probably won't be another one for 2, 3, 4 years. They're not.
There's like no blockbusters anymore that take itself this seriously. I understand that the nature of like Marvel movies is funny, and smarm and stuff, and Star Wars.
These movies are earnest.
These movies
their
are
heart is
so
on their sleeve.
Earnest, yeah.
There are like 2 jokes in this movie.
Maybe. But what was funny was our theater experience. These parents came with their son. He had to have been like 9, maybe. And he was asking so many questions. The first one was, who is Caesar? Asking his dad so many questions. His dad was like, probably was just thinking like, why did we take him to this movie? And they seemed to enjoy it. And I thought it was very cute, the kid asking questions.
Yeah.
But it's like, I wonder how much the kid got out of a movie like this.
Yeah.
I still think a kid could like it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then just to button up my point, but that's how it feels like. And I know the Avatar movies are because of James Cameron, Big Jim.
You call him Big Jim, yeah.
He has the cachet to do this, but it is like those movies come out when he wants them to come out, so they get to be done.
Yeah.
They keep pushing them back because he's like, they're going to be perfect. They like rewrote 2, like because it wasn't right. So it seems like this series has that opportunity where it makes just enough money that they're not like desperate for new ones every time.
Sure.
So I love that. But yeah, and speaking to that point, what you said about the kid who was there, I will say, if you're listening to this and you're just one of our loyal listeners who listens to everything, and you go, I've never really seen any of these movies. Funny enough, they kind of did something miraculous in this movie. I think you could go into this movie having never seen a Planet of the Apes movie.
I agree with you. Of course, if you had even at least seen Rise, Dawn, and War, you would you would be impacted much more deeply in this movie. But it's still a great story.
It's a great story, and I think the things that harken back to the previous movies are things that are going to make you go, oh, that's interesting. I don't know what they're talking about. I want to see those, not, oh, I'm missing out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the characters don't even know about that stuff.
Yep.
And it just makes me think, a movie I love this movie, but it makes me think of Force Awakens, which was doing the, like, okay, we got to set it up for a new generation. But that whole trilogy, which Rian Johnson does his thing that, listen to our episodes on that, where he, I think, corrects it and then it gets uncorrected. But they're like, hey, we want to tell new stories, but they're like, but we're not willing to like take our foot out of the, like, we're not willing to like go outside all the way. We're like we
don't want to take a risk.
Yeah, we're gonna like hold like the old characters and the new characters, but we don't trust that you're gonna
because we want to make new fans, but we're afraid of upsetting the old fans.
Yeah, and this movie is 300 years after the last movie, so that's just that. Like,
Mhm.
it is new characters.
Mhm.
And they're just like, you got to go on this ride with us.
Yep.
And it helps that they have the anchor point of like, you know, they haven't even got to the point in time when Taylor would come from Icarus.
They're
you
still
know,
so far away from that happening.
I know. But yeah, we'll be talking more about that as we go. But yeah, it's just really special, and I cannot wait for them to do more. And as we're recording this, there's only been one weekend of box office, but it did great this weekend.
Uh-huh.
So I don't see why they wouldn't continue because it's a great ending. It ends. You don't even have to have any more, but there's a lot that we could explore. So should I get into it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the movie is directed by Wes Ball, and he directed the 3 Maze Runner movies.
Okay.
And
never seen those.
I haven't either.
That was during the big dystopian young adult kick.
Yeah. But they made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Not saying that that's a signifier of quality, but I was kind of like, wow, they just like let this guy do Planet of the Apes, and then I think in total they grossed like $1 billion, and so I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense that they're like, yeah, this guy can handle it.
Yeah.
But he was working on an adaptation of this comic called Mouse Guard.
Okay.
Which is like, it's like mice people.
Tell me more.
And, you know, there's like a weasel overlord and all this other stuff.
Tell me more.
So he was working on that, and he was doing like tests with Weta. So it was going to be like a, you know, like Planet of the Apes kind of thing.
And more.
And then the acquisition happens at Fox, where Disney buys Fox, and they cancel the project.
Ugh.
But then a producer, like pretty soon, calls him and says, what do you think about doing the next Planet of the Apes movie? And he's like, I would love to do that. He of course meets with Serkis and Reeves and kind of gets their blessing and some ideas and stuff like that.
So was Matt Reeves pretty much like, I'm done after war?
Well,
he wanted to move on to work on other things.
Well, him and his partner Mark Bombach, they were like, they had like when they were doing before war came out, they were talking about how like there's a lot more they could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just one of those things where after war they just didn't. But I'm pretty sure Serkis and I'm just assuming, I didn't check. I'm pretty sure Serkis and Reeves are producers on this movie, and like
I don't remember.
Like Serkis definitely like gave Wes a lot of advice for like how to help the actors.
Oh, that's cool.
Because like none of the actors in this movie had this kind of experience before. So I think they were somewhat pretty hands-on. I think Reeves is kind of the
no not producers, not according to IMDb.
Okay, well then I take back what I was about to say. But they did talk to them and stuff. So they and so he signs on to do the movie, and he's already has this great relationship with Weta. And so he's already been working in the mocap field with like performance capture is what it's called now. But like he's been working in that field with Weta, and then it's like, okay, let's just transition to Apes.
Yeah.
You know? So it makes sense, because when I'm watching this movie, I'm like, this does not feel like someone who doesn't know what to do.
And you were told that they're going to release a
yes.
What is it called? Not motion capture.
Performance
captured edit.
So on the DVD or Blu-ray DVD, Steel K, 4K, they're gonna have like a version of the movie that is just the actors.
I cannot wait to watch.
We have to watch it. I imagine it'll probably be like a split screen situation.
Sure. Oh, I would love that. Yeah.
But yeah, and I saw like an interview. I was looking up some
why
stuff.
Did they decide to do that?
Well,
it's just so many people are just so interested in how it works.
I think in the interview they mentioned something, and I got the impression from the way Wes answered that was something he thought would be cool.
Yeah.
And they're probably thinking of ways to like sell
get
some
people
stuff
to buy a DVD
for
these
one.
days.
Yeah, and then probably like maybe they've lost 3 Oscars with these movies, and they want to make sure they get this one, because there's no way anything else is coming close to this.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Interstellar and Blade Runner, after watching these movies, I'm like, it should have gone to these Planet of the Apes movies. This is like
because those movies came out in 2017.
Yeah, 2020 or Interstellar. I think I got that confused. No, yeah,
Interstellar was before 2017.
Yeah, 2014, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Got it.
Did not win.
And then 2049
won. And amazing looking movies. I love their special effects. But I do think after watching these, wow, you know. So, you know, maybe there's that. But maybe he's like, I'm just a nerd and I know the Planet of the Apes fans are going to want to see this, you know.
So cool.
Yeah. So the writer of this movie is Josh Friedman, and this makes sense too with the world building. He wrote a movie called The Way of Water, Avatar: The Way of Water.
Okay.
So, okay, you have it right there.
That's why there's so much water in this one.
Yeah. The cinematography is by Gayulo Pados. This is just for good old-fashioned Sean Muir. He did the cinematography for Metallica Through the Never, and Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and Maze Runner 2 and 3. The music is by John Paisano. I didn't catch this, but he incorporates the original theme into this movie.
Very cool.
And he did the Maze Runner movies and did the Daredevil show.
Okay.
The movie has a reported $157 million budget. Pretty big budget. But yeah, so let's see. I already mentioned all that. The movie's written during the pandemic.
Okay.
The working title of the movie was Forbidden Zone.
Okay.
Fun. So most of this movie is filmed on location as they've done with the previous movies. But there were, so in the sequence, I won't spoil anything, but there's a bridge sequence, which I'd imagine is maybe a hybrid, and then there is a sequence at the end in this place where there's a lot of water, and those sequences are like all of the water is CGI. And so Weta has made this other movie a couple of years ago called The Way of Water, so they kind of know how to do water. And according to Wes, this movie has like more, what did he call it? Let's see, what did he say? So in terms of the VFX, Ball is very proud of the 33 minutes of full CG, a franchise first, especially the immense amount of simulated water. We flooded a converted parking garage with GG water. I don't know what that is. And I had the actors put 20-pound sandbags on their legs and walk through the stage so they pretended like they were in water. He said that was crazy amounts of data, petabytes and petabytes and petabytes. Petabytes and petabytes and petabytes. And we tried very hard to keep a grounded kind of cinema language to it all. So, and he said that the simulation, this is according to him, the simulation for this movie exceeds The Way of Water.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think it comes down to the fur interaction with the water.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like in Avatar, like most everything is smooth that's in the water, that's different.
Yeah.
So
I when you told me that there is no water in that scene,
I cannot believe it.
Flooded,
I can't believe it.
I don't get that.
There was a scene, the scene on the bridge where there's a character who is.
Oh, that scene's also, sorry.
I don't know about the bridge, but the water is CG. Like the water in this movie is CG. I'd imagine.
He's pulled away in the riptide?
Yeah, that's CG.
What?
And it'll be great to see how they show those scenes in the thing. I'd imagine the scene with the humans, you know, like in the water where they're getting hunted. I'd imagine most of that there is real water there.
Oh, that'd be weird for it not to be real. Well, how do you show them getting wet? Also, how is there no water in the bridge scene when the girl's in there and she's getting wet? Are they dumping water on her?
Maybe. I don't know.
They have to be.
I don't know.
Micah, they have to be.
I just don't know. But I know that when I saw the waves crash over this character and I saw the fur mat down, I turned to Jordan and I was like, what didn't I say? I said something like, I can't believe it. I've never seen anything like that.
There were so many times in this movie that we just looked at each other shaking our heads like, they effing did it.
Yeah. And so that's kind of like the main notes about the movie. But I also want to mention that Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, who kickstarted this reboot and are producers, they have stated in a recent interview, like this month interview, that they have always imagined that there would be 9 movies.
Awesome.
And I'm just like, this is like the only time where someone announces this many movies anymore. And I'm like, make it 12.
Yeah.
And, well, I'll talk about it when we talk about our thoughts, but I have some ideas on what I imagine they will do with these, because they're making it sound like it'll be trilogy.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. Another thing that all 4 of these movies do excellently is they don't get huge names, so they can keep the budget of the movie low and have amazing special effects.
Yeah, smart.
More people should do that. That's smart. Let's see. And here's kind of my last thing. So there's been a little confusion, as we've talked about, on whether this series is supposed to predate the 1968 Planet of the Apes, or if it is like going to build up to its own Planet of the Apes movie. And I've heard like various different things. And Case he mentioned on our interview on Dawn, he mentioned that he likes to think of this as like the first cycle. And then it's like, it gets to Planet of the Apes 68, and then there's the loop.
Okay.
With Zira and Cornelius, which I like.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
The only thing that doesn't work is that it's like it took place in the 70s, though, and that was very clearly established.
Yes.
Whereas these take place in 2011, starting there. But all of that to say, so I was trying to see if anyone had like come up with a fan theory. See, this is how much I love this. And so
I'm just thinking about it. Sorry.
Oh, I thought there was a spider on the wall.
I'm just thinking about it.
So I was trying to think of that, and there was another thing that I won't spoil about the last movie that I thought, I don't know how that works, and they answered it in this movie. So I'm like, they might be able to make this work. But all of that to say, I saw someone on Reddit, and they were like, it's so dumb that anyone could think that this is before Planet of the Apes, and they mentioned a bunch of reasons. And some of the comments were very strange, and it's like, this should just be a discussion. Why are you calling people stupid? But
well, it's the internet. It's
the internet. Well, it was funny because this person was like, it's dumb that anyone would think that. And then this other person said, they said, you're so dumb for thinking that anyone thinks this. I'm like, what is happening? But they were like, this movie they were saying how like the new trilogy clearly establishes it's new. It's just a remake reboot, you know?
Sure.
But Wes Ball says this. He says that there are plans to do a sequel to the 68 original. He mentions that.
Okay.
Which is cool. And he says, quote, it's in our sight, it's on the horizon, but there's a long way to go. And there's no push on anyone's part to do that. That speaks to my earlier point. So if I had my choice, you wouldn't remake the original. You would build up to that, and then you start over. You'd go back and watch the 68 and just let this franchise in. So
let this franchise in or end?
In, I-N.
Okay.
Like it would all cohesively go together.
Let's do it.
So, and the way they've answered some of my questions, it's like, there's almost like a world where, an ape is like, it was the 70s when it was just the wrong time or something. I don't know. Or they hit the time warp weird. I don't know. It almost feels like there's just one paragraph that needs to be said. And then it'd be like, yeah, that works for me,
Very interesting.
So those are my notes on one of my favorite movies.
Okay, so the people in this movie, Noah is played by Owen Teague.
Yeah.
He is in It. He plays Patrick Hockstetter.
Yeah.
One of the bullies. He's also in Bloodline, Black Mirror. Noah being our main character. Yeah, he is really good in this movie.
Really good.
Anaya is played by Travis Jeffrey. That's his friend.
Oh, okay.
He's also in Unbroken.
Anaya looked incredible.
I know. Gallipoli. I don't know what that is. He's in Preacher and other shows. Trying to find what was the girl's name?
May?
No, his other friend.
Oh,
but May is played by Freya Allen. She Oh my gosh, she
And
was born in 2001. That's crazy.
The
She's in The Witcher,
Witcher, that's right.
The Third Day, Gunpowder Milkshake, Baghead.
Baghead.
She's just getting started.
Yeah.
Um,
All these I have no complaints with any of the actors.
No. Can you look up the
series.
name of that character?
Yeah.
I just there are names I just can't remember.
Yeah, I'll keep looking it up.
Do you remember who Silva is?
No.
Who's Koro?
I'm not remembering that either.
Koro, that's the orangutan.
No, that's Raka. Come on.
You're right.
How could you? How dare you not remember Raka?
But it's also a little weird, the billing on this thing.
Right.
Because I can't even find that. Proxima Caesar's played by Kevin Durand. Not to be confused with Kevin Durant.
Right.
He is in. We have covered him before. He's in X-Men Origins Wolverine. I Am Number 4 in Robin Hood and Wild Hogs.
Okay.
Raka is played by Peter McCone. Oh my gosh, he was unbelievably good. His performance was so freaking good. He is in Shameless. He's in Family Guy, The Orville.
The Orville.
Anthem. A
Wow.
lot of shows.
This is really hard to. I need to find like a side by side.
I know. William H. Macy is played by, or he is in it as Trevathon, as a human. I don't think we've covered him before.
Okay.
Right?
No, we haven't.
This is his triumphant return. I don't know. It's probably not. It's really not.
Post the college controversy.
But not controversy. He was convicted.
Well, it's still
it's a controversy. You're right. Sorry, I'm doing two things at once. But he is in, of course, Fargo, of course, Shameless, of course, Magnolia, Boogie Nights, among so many other things. He's so good in everything. Man.
So you already mentioned Kevin Durand.
Yes.
What an insane performance. I was blown away when I saw the picture of him, and I'm like, it was that guy?
I know. Yeah.
I mean, these people are doing legit performances. And again, this is a great thing where it's like, if you go, hey, let's get even someone like Paul Rudd to star in this, like as an ape, you are going to be so distracted the whole movie. And they're getting the right caliber of actors, up-and-comers, and then like, Kevin Durand is like, we know of him. We've seen him and stuff, but he's one of those guys, where you go, oh, that guy.
Mm-hmm. Dar, I believe, is his mom.
Dar is his mom. Yeah.
So that's played by Sarah Wiseman. She is also in High Country, Rake, Under the Vine. It seems like she's in a lot of TV shows.
Okay.
I
thought while we were watching it, I thought maybe it was Helen Mirren because the monkey kind of looked like her. So Suna is the friend.
Okay, hold on.
And that's Lydia Peckham.
Is Lightning the dad? I think that's his dad.
Oh, I don't have that one in front of me.
Let's just say he is for right now. That guy's also, so that's played by Roz Samuel.
Uh-huh.
He is in The Clearing, Black Gold, Neighbors, Woody Woodpecker. And then you said Suna?
Yeah, that's played by Lydia Peckham, and she's known for her scene-stealing performance on Cowboy Bebop, as well as Mr. Carmen and the film Only Cloud Knows.
Okay.
I have a side-by-side, and it's like a cheat code. And Neil Sandilands is Koro, who is one of the elders of the tribe.
Okay.
And he's following roles in Hap and Leonard, The 100, and The Flash, where he played the villainous The Thinker, the TV show.
Mm.
So I'm sorry if we didn't cover that in a way that made sense to you listeners, but
Oda, I think, is the gorilla.
It took a second. Okay. Yeah, that's
also
that
his actor is huge.
Yeah.
That's played by Caden Harcher. He's also in Fires. So if you see one, he might be there.
Caden Farcher's there.
Archer. Archer.
Caden Harcher. Sorry.
Romper Stomper.
You're welcome on the podcast anytime. I apologize.
3838 and more.
Okay. So we got our actors.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say we've already talked it up enough. If you aren't convinced, we are going to go to spoilers now. This movie rocks hardcore. It rocka rockas.
Coba coba double double rocka rocka.
Spoiler alert! 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 Spoiler alert!
Yeah, the window is now open on the side of spoilers.
And Micah put his shirt back on, thankfully.
Yeah, I did strip open my shirt the first half of the recording, but this time, we want to get out in that kingdom. So here we are, and the window's open. We're more outdoor than we've ever been on this podcast right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we should just dive right into this movie.
Yes.
So the movie begins, and we meet Noah and his two friends, who I'm not gonna probably remember their names.
Anaya and
someone else, Suna or something,
maybe.
And they are like,
I feel like they didn't say that character's name enough for me to remember. Yeah. But I feel like we saw the word Anaya in subtitles.
Yeah.
So I remembered it better.
Right. So it's this clan of these three friends, and so what's crazy is this whole like first 15 minutes of what it establishes, which is cool. So I forgot about the moment that I was like, okay, like I will not be able to find anything wrong with this movie. The movie starts and we see a funeral pyre of Caesar. We see Maurice. We see Rocket.
And his son, I assume.
Yeah.
The little babe.
And we Caesar's son, or
yeah.
Yeah. And then it's just like they just do like ape strong. And then it says like, 300 years later, Caesar, and
it says many generations later.
Many generations, yeah.
Yeah.
So already I'm like, okay, I love this movie. Perfect.
I know. Noah and his friends are, I don't know, traversing a landscape that's beautiful, that you realize that there's skyscrapers that they're climbing.
Yeah.
This is a city that's become overgrown over the last millennia.
Yeah.
Or so. Millennia is 100 years?
I think so.
Few millennia.
Or no, it might be 1,000.
It might be 1,000.
Yeah.
Centuries.
A century is
a few centuries of overgrowth and nature taking back what's rightfully theirs. But yeah, they're goofing around, climbing, goofing off. I already said goofing off, but challenging each other. And we see they get to an eagle's nest. It does kind of follow an eagle for a little bit. Then we get to them, but yeah, it gets to an eagle's nest, and they're all three there, and there are 3 eggs. And Anaya says, "Let's all take one," but either Noah or the other one.
Noah's like, we always leave one. And so already I'm just like, okay, so this is like knowing that it's the same writer as Avatar: The Way of Water, which I think had multiple writers, but one of the main writers, I'm like, this makes so much sense, because this movie really establishes like a tribe, and pretty soon into the movie, you're like, okay, I get their system. I kind of understand what these apes do. Whereas, maybe a different movie would not establish this very well. And they're not also being like, here are the rules, yada, yada, yada. Or this tribe, we do this. And they just kind of dole out the information, and you're like, perfect, great.
So Anaya and the other friend take an egg. Suna, I'm just going to call her Suna.
Yeah.
They take eggs, leaving one. And then Noah sees a higher up nest, the highest nest.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't do it, dude. But he's going to do it because he's Noah.
Yeah, and he's a great climber.
So he climbs all the way up there, gets his egg right as the eagle gets back. And
it is Suna.
He falls. Suspense. He falls more. Yeah. They're running after him to try and get him. What's going to happen to Noah? And he gets his egg, and they have a fun story to tell.
Yep. And so they have them in these cool little pouches, and just already you're like, this is a incredible looking movie.
So you pretty much learned that each ape is given the right and the privilege to raise an eagle that they're going to bond with for life.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like.
Yeah.
And Noah's dad seems to be the elder.
He's
one of the elders.
Birdmaster. His dad is the Birdmaster. When I see a word like Birdmaster in a movie, it's like, well, I can't dislike this movie.
That in that scene, the dad's eagle hits hits Noah,
Yeah.
and it doesn't like him,
Yeah.
and it's a good way of showing that Noah's not ready
Yeah. Yeah.
for a lot. And then we see his mom is teaching children, little baby apes. And yeah, this is the community that they live in. It's so
crazy.
like you said, it's very, I guess, tribal, but it's so far in the future. You're wondering, what are these direct descendants of Caesar? I assume so, right?
I don't know.
I did.
I
just assumed that this is an evolution of.
I would assume that it was like another chimp part, like from another zoo or from a different area. That's what, like, if I was gonna guess, I would say that.
Oh, interesting.
Because they had no knowledge of Caesar.
Well, but I'm saying that I didn't know that yet. So
right.
I assumed that this was Caesar.
Oh, I see.
Caesar's clan evolved over several centuries.
Okay, then even
though there was no mention of him, I just thought that.
Well, yeah, and I was partially like, but there's no like eagle stuff, like in Planet of the Apes. So
but that was also 300 years ago.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, and while they're out getting their eggs, they are a human, which they call echoes.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Probably because they're like echoes of the previous world. That's
they know more, even if that's not true. I like it.
Yeah.
One of them steals one of their blankets. They chase after it.
Yeah.
And they get to this tunnel, like a railway tunnel, and the blanket's been left. And they essentially say you can't go through there. It's the forbidden zone.
Yeah.
And Mike and I are hitting each other in the theater. And so, but people are like, you didn't really see an echo, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They don't really exist anymore,
Right.
And I might be fast forwarding a little bit, but essentially.
No, I mean, that's what happened. Yeah.
All this stuff is established. Then Noah is fixing something in the middle of the night, sees an echo, a human.
Yeah.
In the place where they're smoking fish. Wow.
Yeah.
And the human
invite me to that barbecue.
The human pushes him
this
to
is
get
May,
away.
right?
I believe so. Nova. Spoilers.
Yeah.
I know.
And it breaks his egg.
Yeah, she smashes his egg.
And so he's in this situation where, like, it sounds like there's some sort of like graduation ceremony or like you're a adult now ceremony.
I think it's like a coming of age thing.
Yeah. And so now he doesn't have an egg, and his dad is the bird master, so it'd be a huge disappointment. And apparently his dad doesn't even really like him, according to his friends who make fun of him in that way.
Oh, his dad doesn't like his own son?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Anaya said, he actually said, like, your dad doesn't like you. He said a line. I guess I just like that.
Took that as all the people acting a certain way, as like he just thinks you're not ready.
Oh,
but yeah, interesting.
I mean, okay. Anaya did say that, so that's why I was like, oh, okay.
Interesting.
And Suna's like, don't, so I'm sure he loves his son in his own way, but he's not like
really
affectionate.
Hard on him, I guess.
Yeah, you just get that impression, but you don't have to like go through a bunch of explaining of that, it's just there.
I feel like in this movie more than the other ones, and I feel like it's a fun evolution thing. The apes all looked more distinct in their own ways, character-wise.
Yeah.
And I liked, and some of them, like their teeth seemed distinctly different, which helped shape a characteristic about them.
Okay.
But they just looked different than the last movies.
Yeah, they're becoming more human-like.
I guess.
Almost.
Yeah.
Because I was noticing too that Suna and his mom and it was weird. It was like they felt like in the future that's what Zira would look like. Like in another.
Who's Zira?
Zira.
Oh, okay, sure.
But then when I thought about it, I'm like, no, her hair's like totally different. But it was almost
her
like
hair's kind of like a bob. It's kind of a fun, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like in this movie, like the female apes it was almost like they had like a hairstyle in a weird way.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, they're like evolving into Zira. Maybe I'm diving.
Some of them are like wearing face paint too.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
There's this elder guy who has like blue paint all over him. He is cool. I think that was another hit on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were just punching each other the whole movie.
Yeah, my arm was blue the next day.
But yeah, so that happens, and Noah feels his only chance is to go out that night to find another egg for himself.
Yeah.
And his friends are like, I don't know if you should do that. And he's like, I have to.
Yeah.
And they want to go with him, but he's like, no, I'll go alone. So he does.
Yeah.
Takes his horse, goes back to the same area.
And then what?
He hears a little bit of commotion, gets off his horse, and goes towards it. And you see like a weird, some kind of massacre of some kind.
Yeah.
Of a group of apes from his tribe.
Yeah.
They've been brutally murdered. And so serious. This movie's
I
so serious.
know.
And one of them,
as Joker says, why so serious?
one of them is barely alive still, and
It's the elder. It's
the
like
elder.
the main
That's
elder.
right, the elder. And Noah's like, "What happened? What happened?" And the guy can't really get it out in time.
He says, I think he says, there are more and they're coming back, or something like that.
Something like that.
And it's like, I like how there wasn't that moment where it's like, why did you get out here? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, he was just like, there's more and you need to hide or
And
whatever.
I was wondering if it would be humans. For some
Oh,
reason.
yeah. I had no idea what it would be.
Yeah.
And then you have this huge gorilla
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of other, I think you have like some bonobos and stuff like that.
Apes and stuff. But they have like cattle prods.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
And so they are like, they come back and they attack him.
Well, they see Noah's horse, so they're like, "Oh, someone else is here." Oh, and what they did was they slapped the horse to go back home, and they followed it home, so that they can massacre the tribe and kidnap people or apes.
Yeah.
So Noah knows that happened, and is running back, but he is so late because he doesn't have his horse.
And then this scene, it's absolute pandemonium.
Mm-hmm.
And the effects in the scene alone are like, I mean, War for the Planet of the Apes looked amazing. And I still think like it's not necessarily like leaps and bounds more, but it's like this scene is so like fully realized and rendered. I don't understand how they do this. And
it
then
looked good.
You have this moment and Jordan and I were like, no way. Because I said this on this podcast too, where it's like you have these first 3 reboot movies, which are so cool, but they have not really delved into the religious aspect. Whereas the original Planet of the Apes movies, at least the first 2, but I think you can definitely see it through the next 3, religion is a huge aspect of it. And so I thought, and this was even before I knew they did they were doing a trilogy of new movies. I was like, man, it would be cool if they do a new trilogy and this is like the mythology and the building of the religion. And so when this moment hits, when the movie started with Caesar dying, I was like, okay, I think my wish is granted. And then when you see this gorilla, they've just massacred and they're killing all these apes and they're clearly the bad guys. And he goes, "Hail Caesar." I was just like, no way. This movie is amazing. So now the movie becomes...
I think we gasped.
We did. But the movie becomes, you know, it's talking about like mythology and talking about, you know, I think of it as, you know, well, I mean, it's obvious, it's the metaphor, but you have like religions and different sects of a religion that believe in a thing and they all interpret it so incredibly different to where they're actually like contrary to each other. And so this movie is talking and having a conversation with that. What other blockbuster movie is having a conversation with the minutia of religion and the dangers, perhaps, of putting someone on a godlike pedestal? What other franchises doing this?
There's so much more to it too when you get into later in the movie. So much more.
Oh man, and we're living in a world where last year, even though we enjoyed it, a Fast and Furious movie kind of underperformed, and now this year, a Planet of the Apes movie is doing excellent. So it's working out, folks.
Yeah.
It is working out.
Yeah.
So that happens, and then there's this big showdown with that huge gorilla and
His father and Noah. Great action.
Unbelievable.
Just great.
I mean, this is good. This is good
movie making. I'm just gonna say it. It's good movie making. The Eagles get let out.
That was so John Early of you.
They let the Eagles out, by the way.
Yeah.
But Noah gets thrown out of the thing. So
yeah.
And and he falls and passes out, and by the time he wakes up, it's morning, and his dad's dead, including so many other people in his clan, including so many of them missing because they have been taken.
And then the movie does something that I think is clever. It's a very small change, but I think the movie could have been a little bit less good if it did this other change, where Noah goes, I'm going to go, and he doesn't say, I'm going to go and get revenge. He's like, I'm going to go save my tribe.
Yeah.
And I like that difference, that he's motivated by saving them, not avenging
I
his
wonder
father.
how much of that is so good and well established in the type of tribe they are, because they just seem very peaceful.
Yeah.
Keep to themselves.
Oh, that's a really interesting point.
Like,
yeah.
I didn't get the impression, and maybe I'm wrong, but that there weren't even like guards posted at night.
Yeah, it's like they're
just their little
fishers.
utopia.
They're fishers and
they're fishers, and they're bird keepers.
Yeah,
that's it.
They probably don't. Maybe they don't even have
no
hunters.
Chance against this gorilla and his army.
Yeah.
So yet for him to have that outlook on it is very interesting.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
And so he begins his journey.
Yeah.
And
we love to see it.
We love to see journey, meaning his journey.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the shoe store.
No. Anyway,
I thought I'd get a
what
giggle
happens
out
in
of
between this and him meeting Raka?
Well, he starts heading, and he's following, and he's going. I mean, he meets Raka pretty quick after this.
I think he does too. So he is.
He like falls into an airport.
Falls into like a mall. Oh, is it an airport?
It's an airport.
Oh,
There's planes.
Okay.
Which, like, I cannot praise this movie enough for how it realizes a post-apocalyptic world, not an apocalyptic world, or not one that just happened. Like, this happened,
and this isn't dystopian. This is just post all of that.
Yeah, so it's like an establishment of new things. Like, there's more hope in this world.
There's
than there
so much
is, like,
life happening.
Yeah, and so I just haven't really seen this realized in film before. So that was another exciting thing. You know what? I'm gonna say that too. I'm gonna agree with you on that. So he falls through the roof, and this orangutan comes up to him, who looks like $1 million. I love this orangutan. He says, "I'm Raka," and I go,
he thinks,
"Yeah, Raka rocks.
Raka rocks.
Raka rocks. Doba doba. Koba
And
doba."
he thinks that Noah is one of the baddies. To which Noah says, "No, I'm trying to find them because they took my people." And Raka points to this funeral pyre and says, "That's my people."
Yeah.
Or
yeah. And again, I don't know how they did this, but it pulls focus on the fire, and you see the skeleton, and then it goes out of focus, and you just see. And I know that's how it would be in real life, but I'm saying they did that with special effects.
Yeah.
Or maybe they didn't. Maybe
they
they had
people into apes in this movie. Seamlessly.
Yeah, maybe it was a real funeral pyre.
I can't wait to see that.
I know. I know. This will be like the first time since I've been in high school. Like, I think when this movie comes out on DVD, I'm gonna like run down to Fred Meyer or whatever and like buy it the day of, so that I can have Fred Meyer. They don't even really have electronics anymore, but I'll order it, and I'm gonna have it like the day that it's released. Yeah. So he meets Raka, and Raka and him are talking, and we find out that Raka is like the last of the, I don't know, like the elders of Caesar. And they hold to his teachings, and they believe that knowledge is power, and he has a bunch of books, and he reads the books, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, so he's the lawgiver. Like, Raka is the lawgiver of this franchise. And I believe, I was messaging Case about it, I think he mentions Caesar being the lawgiver in the movie, but it's like, I think the mythology of the series as it continues, like, he will get the title of lawgiver.
Yeah. What's interesting is by this point, apes, it seems, largely don't know how to write. However, I get the impression that Noah has never heard of Caesar. Right?
Yeah, he says that. He says that.
So him and his
tribe do not.
Are like, who is this ape? What are you talking about? We were just living our own peaceful existence.
Yeah.
So fascinating. Because they're just like,
and it's not what you expect. Like you said,
not.
You were expecting them to be descendants of.
Yes, and so he's just like, I just know what I know.
Yeah,
and he does kind of like scoff at the Caesar character, kind of scoffs at religion in a way.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't need any of your law giving stuff. I just need to find my clan. But the lawgiver trying to get him to understand. But if you like the importance of the law given to us by Caesar.
Yeah.
And how the clan
Ape
that
not
stole
kill ape.
yours are misconstruing it.
Yeah.
And they've twisted it.
Yeah.
And he's just like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
But Rocco's like, I'm coming with you.
Right.
With his books.
And he has the
And
window of Caesar,
Yeah,
which
the
is like
symbol
the
of Caesar.
symbol of their religion.
And he explains to
Come on.
he's a human sympathizer. And Noah is basically like, they're feral rats.
Yeah.
And Rocco's like, no, you don't understand. There was a time where we succumbed to them and they ruled over us.
And he's like, no way.
Shows him some like artwork from this airport that's kind of like a history of humanity a little bit.
I think it just shows like pilots and
it shows like an astronaut.
Oh, an astronaut.
But it's still
Yeah.
Like for Noah, it's like what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
That's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Right.
They're just feral things.
So yeah, all of this, I'm like, I can't believe this movie is doing everything that I had hoped it would do. Another thing that I like about this whole concept that like Noah is not attached to Caesar. I mean, maybe they'll do some sort of, connection at one point. It doesn't seem like they would, but it makes this world of these movies feel a lot bigger.
Yes.
When everything is lineage based, that's not necessarily bad, but there's a lot of franchises, and I'll keep them unnamed, where it's like
putting themselves in a box.
Yeah, it's like, oh, and this person's dad was this, or their mom was this, and it's like, why can't it just be a random character?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is pretty exciting that it's like this guy doesn't have an attachment, and then maybe he will become in the annals of history.
The next Caesar or whatever.
Yeah, like the leader of the apes in this generation,
Yeah.
So I just think that that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fresh. I mean, I'll name this franchise. It's like Fast and Furious, a series that doesn't even have, like, they're not superheroes. They're not like space galactic people or anything like that. It's not a fantasy, quote unquote. It is, but it's like even that. It's like my brother is coming in. Oh yeah, my long lost mom is here, and you're like, what? Why does everyone have to be related?
I know. Yeah.
But see our series on that to hear more on that. But Rocca rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And later they see that May or Nova is coming up to their camp.
She's been following Noah.
Yeah. And he's like, she's been following? That's amazing.
Yeah, she must be smarter than the others. Gives her some apples. She eats apples.
He does the apple throw.
Yeah, he does the apple throw.
But I was so excited.
We were hitting each other for that. We were like, trailer. And Rocca says she's cold. Give her a blanket, which Noah doesn't want to because it's his mother's blanket.
Yeah.
Gives it to her.
Now, I got to cut in just because in War for the Planet of the Apes, they named the character Nova. Maurice did. And I thought, oh, that's cool. It's a nice thing. But I couldn't grasp like why you would do that unless it's...
Other than it's just like fun.
Yeah. And then in this movie, Rocca's like... one of the, there was a human that helped Caesar and she was named Nova.
Yeah, what's cool is they're giving importance to that name.
Yeah.
Themselves, because it's like there's not much technically like from the original other than like whatever. So yeah.
But then they're like, so every like female of the species we name Nova.
Did he say female?
I thought he did.
I just don't
or
remember.
maybe I just filled that in my head.
Okay.
But he was like, so this one is Nova.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great. I love that. That's perfect. And eventually they start traveling with Nova.
Rocca lets her travel with him on horseback.
Yeah.
Against Noah's wishes.
Yeah. And then they come across a tribe of humans, feral humans.
Well, first of all, they see zebras, so it makes me even more confused about where they're at, other than like it's a zoo animals that got let out because of the catastrophe of the world.
Yeah.
And they just procreated.
I
like to think that's what it is.
Yeah, I think so too, because I feel like, especially judging by the ending of this movie, I feel like we're still in America.
I get that sense too.
I mean,
but maybe it's just because like the two humans who do speak in this movie are just American.
Yeah, I wonder if the murals in the airport are are
or
a
real
real
things.
airport.
Yeah.
That seems like an American
But
mural
here's what I would be
too,
interested in, though. Not that just because it was San Francisco and that's where Caesar originated.
Yeah.
Not that it can't be this way, but I kind of find it hard to believe that there would just be other apes that didn't know anything.
Well, there are, my friend, because
Okay.
I read this wonderful thing on Marvel Unlimited. It was Planet of the Apes from 2023, and it told a story after war. After Rise, but before Dawn.
Okay.
And there was this gorilla named Pug who was French, and he led a rebellion in Europe.
Okay, but I'm talking about San Francisco.
Oh, I thought you just meant like worldwide.
No, like if this was still set in San Francisco, it's like, then how did this tribe like get off with all the other ones and not be influenced by Caesar or even know about him?
Oh, okay.
That's all I mean.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
But yeah, give me that. I want to read about that.
I know you really should. It's very cool for anyone who's listening. It's only 5 issues, and it was pretty excellent. And there's this like terrorist group that's trying to kill all of the apes before they take power because they blame the simian flu on them, and it was awesome. I was like, I can't get enough of this world.
Yeah.
So then they come across the humans, and then this is where like the theme from the first movie comes back into play.
Yeah. So there.
I mean the musical theme.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
So first thing that I was curious about while watching this was how come Nova looks so different? Like quite
modern
simply,
clothes,
her costume
kind of. Yeah.
is just different than theirs. All of them are wearing like scraps of clothing.
Yeah.
What I do find interesting, just as a fun thought, is how so far in the future humans have devolved, but they still wear clothes.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like thinking about it as a fun, like it's not because this is a movie and they can't be
Right.
naked, but like they still have shame, I guess.
You know what? Maybe they do because in the first movie, the 3 astronauts get naked and we see them. So
Yes, we do.
get some of that Heston ass. So, yeah. Then they are attacked by
the gorilla
and his crew. They're rounding them up, and by now Noah's
he especially hones in on Nova and is like, get that one.
Yeah. And Noah is like, I'm out of here. Like, see you later. And Raka's like, I'm gonna stay here. But then
this happens, yeah.
Then he decides to come back. He goes, and then so this was spoiled for you because it was in the last trailer. I had not seen the last trailer, so I didn't know, and I was surprised. Because then she's like, help, or something like that.
No, she says Noah.
Oh, she says Noah.
Yeah.
And it's like we're feeling how honestly, I feel like we're feeling how the apes in the 1968 movie feel when one of them
Heston
talks.
speaks.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Yeah.
You can do that?
Yeah.
So then, he saves her, they get away. Wonderful action sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And then now she starts talking to them. And I do like, too, it feels very innocent where Noah's, like, pretty upset that she was withholding information.
Yeah.
And
feels like he can't trust her. And I think they do. I feel like it's hard, but they keep that consistent the whole movie.
Yeah.
Of his, like, lack of trust.
Yeah. And you're never like, come on, dude.
But that's
the
beautiful
feeling.
Push and pull that I can't really figure out how they pulled it off because of the end, like where we end up at the end of the movie.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's like you kept this tension the whole time. I just feel like in a lot of movies when you have characters that don't trust each other, it's just easier writing where it's just like, okay, fine. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And there is obviously some of that, obviously.
Yeah.
He has to like make compromises to trust her to get to certain points. But it's like once they get to a certain checkpoint,
yeah,
it's like, okay, I don't know. 2 steps back again.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's so good.
But she says that she can talk and she comes from a small group of humans who can talk. And she seems to be the last one of those people.
Yeah.
Who can. And she knows about the compound, the kingdom that all these apes are being taken to.
Yeah.
Right? I think I didn't quite understand how she knew about these things, but
So we find out that Proximus, who we haven't even met yet, we meet him like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And I love Proximus. It makes sense, but it's almost a bummer that he's like not going to be in like the next movie.
I know.
But Proximus, they're like, he has this kingdom of apes, as he references to them, that are outside of this like military compound
Yeah.
that he's trying to get into, and he knows that there is at least weapons in there.
Yeah.
So he really wants to get in there. And somehow, I don't know how they know that she knows, but they know that there's a human that knows how to get in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of...
I mean, yeah, that's kind of all you need.
Yeah.
So I'm not hung up on it or anything.
But then Raka, Nova, and
But sorry,
Noah,
can you remind me, why does she want to get there?
because she wants it. She wants
That answer. She says that there's I remember now. There's something in there that can give humans their speech back, and they're
Yeah.
like, what does that even mean? And she's like, I can't really explain it.
Yeah.
To which they don't fully explain it still in a good
No.
way.
Yeah. I do love how she's like, there's a book that can do it, and they're like, a book can do that, and she's like, this one can.
Yeah.
What
does that even mean?
Yeah, I know. So then they go to this cool bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to get across, and they are cornered from both sides. And there's monkeys underneath it too.
Apes.
Apes, yeah. Oh, and she's told them that her name is May at this point. And all of this is awesome. It looks
so good. Apparently it's not water.
It is absolutely mind-blowing. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
And there's no way out for them. They will get captured. Raka gets swept away in the rapids, and I am not convinced he's gone.
No.
I just feel like it's one of those things where he fell from a cliff and we didn't see where his body ended up.
Yeah, but this seems better than a fell from a cliff. It's like I could totally believe someone living through this.
Absolutely.
Especially a big ape.
The whole movie I was waiting for him to come back.
But
he doesn't. But I don't think we're done with him. Especially if he is like the lawgiver, if you do want to hypothesize that, he's not gone.
So here's a couple of things I wanted to get into. I think, he's going to be in the next movie, and I hope so much that they don't reveal that in the trailers, but they probably will. It'll be like, who's that? And then it'll pan up, and it'll be like, Raka, you're back? But I do think that it would work, and it would be satisfying if he didn't come back, but I want him to come back.
I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah,
I just think there's so much more from the character we can get.
Absolutely, but here's
this is what I want. Sorry. This movie.
Well, this is what I want to talk about. Some of our ideas for what
this movie ends how it ends, and Noah has learned so much, saved a clan, saved his own people.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, where does he go from here? He's obviously leading them, right?
Yeah,
and he'll want to lead them from using everything that he's learned from Raka.
Yeah,
and Raka will have to come back and like teach him how to read.
Right.
And all this stuff and continue to teach him about Caesar's theology.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
That's what I think will happen. But if it doesn't, like just as a theory on if it doesn't, I think there's enough and they could this would be a tough needle to thread, but they do have to do it at some point. Is that now Noah has all the power, or someone soon after him, and they're able to now manipulate and be like, yes, there was this lawgiver, and he said all these things, but they're really the ones saying them.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, God told me that you guys all need to do all of this and this and this.
Okay.
So there could be a character. It doesn't seem like it'd be Noah, but maybe by the third movie it could, where he's like, I've told you so much about this lawgiver, and there was, this whole other book that he didn't tell you about, because he needs them to do certain things. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So there's just so much they could do.
I know.
And it's all exciting.
I know.
Because at some point we have to kind of turn on the apes.
Yeah. I know.
But at the same time, there's still characters like Zira and Cornelius, so we don't have to like fully turn on the apes.
No.
You just need to have like a Proximus in each movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they're smarter than me, so they're gonna like do it well. But that's just like an idea I had, is like at some point someone could just use the memory of the lawgiver being Raka and
Gilmore.
Oh my gosh. Someone could just use his memory and manipulate people with that.
Yeah, totally.
Because like you said, he doesn't even know enough about Caesar to like do laws and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's got like no real bearing. I mean, except for like a couple of campfire conversations. He doesn't have like a book.
I know.
He doesn't even have the religious symbol anymore.
Yeah. But the thing that is good about it is like Raka gave him the bones. He gave him the simplicity, as if telling someone like Jesus calls us to love everyone.
Yeah.
And what if that's all you were told? And it's like, okay, then that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
But you don't have all of the nitty gritty like things of the other things that the Bible addresses.
Right.
But that's just the greatest commandment that you have is to love. It's I wonder if it's kind of like that where he's given the greatest commandments of the theology and can move on from there with them.
Yeah.
Because it's like at the end of the day, we are called to love.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they get captured.
And then it's like now we're in a different movie.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. So we're taken to the kingdom of the planet of the apes.
Oh, say it again and say it proud.
Ruled over by Proximus.
Proximus Caesar.
Proximus Caesar. Right.
Yeah.
So Noah reunites with his clan.
Yes.
Including his friends who are still there. Including his mom who's still there.
Uh-huh.
Nova May is given to William H. Macy. And we find out William H. Macy is like he's the scholar. He's like a human.
He reads to Proximus.
He reads to him.
Especially
but
Roman
he's like
history.
a human pet.
Yeah.
To him. And it is like there's like crazy irony, obviously.
Yeah.
That a human who can talk, but like a human is teaching an ape.
Yeah.
And yeah, the ape owns the human, but it's also like who's teaching who. And like the person teaching, it's like, aren't they the ones who could really be in control? Not necessarily true in this case. William H. Macy is very much like bends to his will, of course, but
a cuck.
But it is like you just have to wonder. The movie doesn't really there's not time for this, but it's like how much has he told Proximus to inflate his own ego,
mm-hmm.
and how much has he not told him just because it would be too inconvenient for him. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, what version of history, of even Roman history, is Proximus getting that he's just using for his own purposes?
Yeah.
History's written by the victors kind of thing.
Yeah.
But William H. Macy is telling her, like, you need to, like, comply.
You need to stop living in the past.
You need to stop living in the past.
This is the world you're fighting for doesn't exist. This is the world now, so you need to learn how to live in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get another interesting character.
It's so interesting that they capture her and she can speak, and the apes recognize the importance of that, and they're giving her an opportunity to be useful to them.
Yeah,
they give her like this is where Macy lives as well, but like a swanky, it's not, but a sizable living quarters with relative comfort.
Yeah,
so she's not in a cell for them to like figure out what they're gonna do with her.
Yeah,
she has a lot of like. More independence than I expected her to have.
All of them do. It didn't necessarily seem like slave labor.
No, I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like they kidnap his tribe to assimilate them to his kingdom.
Yeah.
And like giving them the illusion of like I am accepting you into my fold.
Yeah.
But you can't leave.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
One of those things.
It's so
it reminds
cool.
me of like it's a little bit different, but of like Napoleon would go out and conquer places, and he would establish laws sometimes specific to the areas, but it's but they were still like under his rule at the end of the day. He just did that to like
make them seem like they had
to keep peace.
Yeah,
but it's like at the end of the day, he's the one who's ruling over them,
right?
And he's appointing people that he wants to be in control of these things.
Yeah.
Anyway, history is interesting, and this movie the series proves that.
Yeah. So they're trying to like blow up the vault area.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good sequence on that. It seems freaky and crazy, and it seems kind of culty almost, like these apes and stuff.
And then Proximus has like a little sermon thing about it's a wonderful day. Aren't you guys having a wonderful day? Don't you love it here?
Wonderful day.
So good.
Yeah. What a lovely, lovely day. Mad Max. Yeah. I'm trying to kind of think through this section because there's so much, and I don't want to miss anything, but I kind of feel like we've caught up to.
So Noah has proven some potential worth to Proximus. He's invited to that lunch where Macy is also at. That's where he finds out that Anaya is here and he's a servant. But Noah had repaired one of the cattle prod things. So
So they know
Proximus
this guy
is like, you're smart, right? So like, how can you be useful to me with your smartness?
Yeah.
Like, let's work together on this thing.
Right. Oh yeah, and Proximus is also, he's motivated. I love this. He's motivated by this thing where he's like, we're getting smarter, but we're not like there yet. And he's like, we need to find this information, and I need to learn this stuff so that it can like live on.
Yeah, because he is like understands and accepts that he will not be around for much longer. He is mortal.
So yeah,
but what can he contribute to the evolution of ape?
Come on.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Pretty interesting motivation.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
And it's also like to have the audacity to think that you can be the one to do it. You know, like that's the whole kingdom part of it.
Yeah.
Where he thinks he's special enough to do that.
Yeah. It's too good.
Yeah.
We're too lucky that this movie is out.
We don't deserve this.
We really don't. We really don't. And so, you know, at a certain point, May comes in. No, she's in the camp, and she's like, "I have a way. Let's get the book. We'll just call it that for now." We find out later it's like a hard drive or something like that, or like a floppy disk, basically. I don't remember exactly, but and so they're working on this whole thing, and Anaya and Suna are helping.
But it was so heart-wrenching at first when Noah, goes to Suna and she's like, "Yeah, I'm helping you," and then they go to Anaya. And Anaya says that Anaya is scared, and he just curls back up and is crying.
Because earlier in the movie, there was that nice little thing where they found the echo blanket, and they're like, "Anaya, you're scared," and he's like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." And then in this moment, for him to be like broken down and saying that,
I felt so bad for him. And then a little bit later, Anaya does come back, and he's like, "You're gonna need my help." Yeah. And I just I even said this to Mike in the theater. It's like, no, now I'm worried that he like tipped someone off.
Yeah, which you can't do that to me anymore. You can't guess what's going to happen in movies.
It just, I was
theater.
so worried that was the case because that's just like the trope, basically.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't. I was so glad.
Yeah, but stop doing that.
Sorry.
You can only do it when, which we both do sometimes, where it's like, oh, I wonder why the character brought up that information. That's okay.
But we're not watching bad movies anymore because of this series.
No, we have, our calendar is, I don't think we have a bad movie on our calendar for a while.
We've done the hard work.
Yeah, we've done a lot of bad.
This.
Yeah. So they're setting up all this stuff. Then William H. Macy comes in. He does this whole monologue about like college tuition and education and how we should, be able to bribe, which was so weird and out of place.
It came out of nowhere. And then May killed him. No, but what really happened was he was like, "You don't understand what you're doing. We just need to let things be how they are.
Let the past die."
Yeah. And accept that humans are not on top anymore.
And
that's the interesting thing, because it always reminds me when that's brought up in these movies where I'm like, wait a second, I'm a human.
Yeah.
I should be like going for them.
Me a human too. Yeah, no, I
so it's like
that
when that stuff is reminded to me, especially like in this movie, it's like, well, I think I do want May to get to succeed in her mission, whatever it is, right?
Well, it's kind of,
but sorry.
Yeah.
But this is what the movie poses. It's like, but why can't they? I mean, all of these 4 so far, but like, why can't they just exist together? Why can't we just coexist? But that's what this movie especially is asking.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy that there are 9 of these movies, or 10. I think there's 10 of these movies, 5 and then 4, 9. And there's kind of only one of them where like the apes are the bad guys. I don't really know how they tricked us into that. Beneath, you could maybe argue, but the rest of them, you're like always rooting for the apes. Every single other movie of Planet of the Apes,
I think Beneath, you can definitely argue.
But Zero and Cornelius are trying to help and stuff like that. You know?
I guess that's
true. Which they are in the first movie as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess there's two
But that's
movies.
showing the complexities that are not all bad.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's all a power struggle.
We still have yet to meet the mutants,
I know.
which I'll have more to talk about
Trust me,
when we get there. But so they've like set
Now
up this
I'm
whole thing.
understanding something about the end of this movie, but
What?
I'll wait till we get there.
Oh,
but
okay.
So yeah,
don't forget about it.
I won't. So they're setting up all these things around outside, and you don't really know what's happening, but it involves gunpowder and the like.
And then they have to climb.
Then they have to climb up a sheer cliff fall.
Yeah.
Fun tension.
Yeah.
There. But they make it inside the, what is this? A weapons silo? What is it? A military thing?
Military thing.
So I was expecting that this was going to be an atomic bomb location.
I thought maybe it was, and I was like, beneath the planet, beneath the planet.
Beneath it. Let's get beneath. But it's not. It's so yeah. But there's like, it's vast. It's so deep in the earth. There are computers, pipes, machinery, guns,
here's
children's books. Like, did people live here? Or
and there was that doll that was
the doll from the first movie.
The first movie.
Yeah.
That kind of like scared me in my ear. I didn't see your mouth move when you said that. So the only thing, and if you come up with anything, I'll grasp onto it. But I just felt a little tiny bit like, okay, movie logic. How come no apes have tried to go over here and look? Because they're able to get in like immediately, like through just a window.
This is what I wonder.
And I was like, what?
This is what I wonder. Well, we don't really know exactly how they got here.
Yeah.
But being ruled by Proximus, who seems to rule with an iron fist, like, he's like, it has to be through here.
Yeah.
And no
you
one's
don't think
even
he would just check somewhere else?
But I just wonder if for him it's like, it's tunnel vision. I'm just trying to, make the movie make sense because I want it to. But
I mean, in the movie's defense too, though, until they brought it up, I didn't think of there being an alternate entry point.
Yeah.
But I just sort of wish, like, when they got to the top, that there was, like, a keypad that she had to use or something. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that there was just an open window and it was like, someone could have just got in here a long time ago, I thought was a little odd for such a thought-out
Do we know
movie.
how long the apes have been here?
No, I don't think we do.
Maybe they haven't. I mean, it seems like they've been here for a while.
And it was a big wall they had to climb.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm not holding it against the movie.
Me neither.
But
yeah, they get inside.
Yeah.
And we see the vastness of it. And May runs off to do her own thing, which we learn is she finds whatever she needed to find, some hard drive looking thing.
Yeah.
And then she finds a cabinet
MacGuffin.
full of guns.
Yeah.
And then we just see her look back at them a second time, and then we cut away from her, and I'm like, "What is she going to take a gun? What's happening?"
Yeah.
And then our three apes are in a room where there are books, and Noah picks up a book that says ABC on it.
Yeah.
And he says he repeats something that Rocka says, but like the symbols have meaning.
Yeah.
And then they're flipping open the book, and they see a gorilla behind bars at a zoo,
and they're like,
and a human is looking at it.
Yeah.
And then if they flip the next page, and there's a chimp.
Yeah.
Behind bars at a zoo.
Yeah.
And it's like a cute little like, Tommy likes the chimpanzee the best.
Yeah.
Whatever. And they're like, their brains are exploding.
Yeah.
They have no idea they can't even comprehend this.
Well, I'm sure they don't know what it is, but there's also like the solar system set up.
Yes.
And so, that has to make them think like, what is that? I mean, they're probably just thinking that they're toys. They probably have no idea to relate that to space.
Yeah.
But we forgot to mention earlier in the movie, they're at an observatory.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And he looks up at the stars.
He looks through the telescope and sees the moon. Well, or probably just the stars.
Well, we don't know. We don't see exactly what he sees. We just see his eye.
I guess I assumed it was the moon because it was so reflecting so brightly against his eye. But yeah, we don't know.
Well, I saw a thing where Wes specifically said like it's much more powerful if we don't see the image he sees and we just see his reaction. And I'm like,
yeah, he was shocked by it,
and she was too. May
was too.
He showed it to her later in the movie.
Yeah.
So cool. And also, again, it's like that is a real monkey eye.
So what do you think that is? Because that's so. To fast forward at the end of the movie, the very end.
Yeah.
He takes Suna to the telescope.
Yeah.
and she looks through it. And is it like a window into wonder?
I think it's like
And seeing like
the advancement of knowledge.
the advancement of knowledge, yeah, and probably realizing we are way smaller than we thought we were.
Yeah. Like there's other stuff out there. This is not just.
Oh my gosh, this is so freaking good.
I know. And it's just crazy because it's so limitless without. It's
well,
just
Bradley
so limitless.
Cooper's not in this movie.
He could be in one of them. He's a great voice actor.
I think that.
So yes, then they open up the door and immediately Proximus and everyone is there,
Yes.
which was a great detail.
Yeah.
I didn't expect them to be there.
Yeah.
They're there and he's like, all right, let's shut this thing down. Thank you for letting me in. And then
He's gonna kill Suna
yes.
if Noah doesn't tell him how they got in or something. I don't remember something.
Or give him the book or
give him
whatever.
Well, I don't think he wants the book. He doesn't know there's a book in there.
Yeah, that's right.
He just wants to get inside because he
Yeah.
assumes that it's destiny. There's something in there that'll
yeah.
be good for apes.
And then we have this wonderful moment where May pulls a gun and she shoots one of the apes.
The one holding Suna.
Yeah, and it dies.
Mm-hmm.
And then she is going to go blow up the barricade in front of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, actually, no, this would make sense that they haven't tried to look up because they literally barricaded an area so that they could get in this way. They're just not thinking that there's another entrance.
Yeah.
That makes sense. 100%. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going, and Noah's like, don't do it. This is his tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to kill them. And she's like, I have to.
But it's also like you being a human and your race is going to be extinct if you don't do something about this. What do you do?
I
of course, it's
it's
like
so complicated.
but also she's seeing what this Proximus guy has done.
Yeah.
And assuming he's the one who killed her people.
Yeah.
So she's like, you're great, but he's worse. So I don't have a choice.
It's
me or them.
Train, you use it to kill one person or switch the tracks and kill both, or whatever that scenario is. That's what she's faced with. And so
Does she say I'm sorry?
I don't remember.
Me neither.
She goes and she blows it up, and I was like shocked that happened.
I was shocked. And this
she
next
killed
scene,
William H. Macy, and I was shocked. This happened, and I was shocked. Like,
two things. So this, I cannot believe that what's about to happen was all CGI. This whole sequence.
Yeah.
Secondly, this was the most stressed out I was watching a movie in a long time. And part of that probably was being in a theater and it was loud.
Yeah.
But also it just reminds me, I'm terrified of drowning.
What was it more or less stressful than Beau is Afraid?
Oh, well, that movie is a different kind of stressful.
Okay. What fun, stressful like this? When was the last time? Like Avatar, maybe?
This was more stressful than. But it was funny while watching it. I was thinking about the Avatar scene, the one where they're holding their breath.
Yeah.
And that scene is very stressful.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I'm just more invested in these movies than Avatar, so I'm just more stressed watching this because I don't want these people to die, these apes to die. So Avatar's like. Because it's also just more. Well, this movie's a spectacle. I shouldn't take any away from this movie.
These are like the most comparable movies in the past, while, I guess.
Yeah.
They
but
have
I do care more for these characters, so it was more stressful than Avatar.
Yeah. This movie's so good. So the water floods in, and they all start running up, and he's like, "Get to high ground. We're gonna get out of here." And they're getting washed away. There's not a second that I didn't. There was not a moment that I thought, "Oh, that looks fake."
No,
not a moment.
No,
it's insane.
Him even and CGI water or no CGI water, I don't get how they did it. Like even if they had used water, with all of like those cargo containers pushing,
I don't get it.
And everything,
I do not get it.
It was crazy.
And
but yeah, I thought his mom was gonna die, and I was so worried. And then she got saved.
Yeah.
And then they got their tribe to the one escape area, so they're all escaping through, but then the gorilla shows up
and they have this fight. It's epic. It's so awesome.
So good.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
And then he is able to trap the gorilla in an area where he can slip out, but the gorilla's too big. And you just see the gorilla's hands go limp.
Like that stresses me out so much because I'm scared of drowning. Things like this remind me like, I have a lot of fears because even when they're after this on top of the cliff and stuff, I'm like,
my
legs start getting tingly. No joke.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really scared of heights too. What am I not scared of?
Oh my gosh. Well, and it's that moment where the gorilla dies. You see this, like, he's been nervous, and you see the birth of a leader in that moment.
Yes.
Because he stands there and looks at what has happened, and you see that he cognitively is like, I am now like the position of my father, or I'm gonna make my own way or whatever. But he's like, I am now like grown. I'm an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
don't need no eagle. By the way,
yeah.
Well, but he does, because throughout the movie, the eagle, his father's eagle that does not like him, has been following him, and it's been a reminder.
Yeah.
Of.
And he thinks it's taunting him.
I think it's taunting him for his father's death and what's happened to his tribe.
Yeah. Then they get to the top.
Yeah.
Proximus is out there.
Yep.
And he like has the tribe, and he's like, all right, I rule this thing, and you're going to die now. And he starts beating the crap out of him.
And it's interesting because apes being apes,
yeah,
it is like a dominance thing.
Yeah, oh,
and
totally.
All of them are like
just watching.
They can't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think like one or two try and go, and he's able to easily throw them aside.
I don't know if that happens.
Okay, I'm maybe just misremembering. But they're fighting for a little bit, and then he's down on his knees, and he's like, Noah, I want you to get up so I can kill you.
The saliva and blood coming out of his mouth, don't get it. Don't get how they did it.
No. It's incredible.
I mean, it's real. That's just the only answer for it.
And then he looks up in the sky, and he sees the eagles.
And he starts singing their song, because their tribe sings to the eagles.
And then the eagles start swooping down, and they attack Proximus. And it was funny because
we didn't say earlier though.
Yeah,
it was just so flippin' cool. When he is talking, has a moment with his mom. This is like not long after he got to this kingdom, and his mom is like, he sees eagles out there, like several tens of yards away from them, from their tribe that's followed them here, and she's like, they won't come to us anymore.
Oh yeah,
as if like we've been forsaken. And then she leaves him, and his dad's eagle shows up close to Noah, and Noah is like, again, like, stop following me, stop taunting me, stop reminding me, and he's very much despairing. But then it's like, that was I feel like that's the choice he made to be a leader, actually, is that scene, because then he puts his arm out, and the eagle comes and latches onto his arm, and the music is so triumphant.
That's right. That's a pretty big moment. Yeah, that
was like took my breath away.
Yeah.
Also, because it's like, this has really happened in history.
I know. I know. Or no, it's gonna happen in our future history.
Yeah.
So that what I found interesting is the movie kept tricking me on little tropes. In the same way that the movie Monkey Man did this year, where it's like, I'd expect one thing and then it would do something just not like changing the whole thing, not being like controversial or like anti that thing, but just doing a little bit different. Because the whole movie, I'm like, oh, so that was the moment for the eagle. Because I'm like, the eagle's following him, and I thought it would save him at one point. And I'm just like, oh, I guess not. And by the end of the movie, I'm like, yeah, I guess the eagles won't. And then I'm like, oh, it's been just long enough that I forgot.
Yeah.
And so when he saw him, I'm like, oh, that's it. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And then they attack Proximus. He falls off the cliff while the eagles are pecking at him, and they like fly off of him just before he hits the water. It's real.
As they do.
It's real.
Yeah.
And now he has saved his tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going out, and they like reestablish.
They go home.
A new kingdom,
and you might
call it.
Yeah, they're rebuilding their tribe, their kingdom.
Yeah. And then May comes up to him.
May, she shows up. And what does he say to her? Like, he's like,
just like, I can't trust you. Well, like, what are you doing here? Like, Proximus was right. He was like, humans cannot be trusted, and we can't let you have this world.
That moment that May made that choice, that was it for him.
Yeah,
he couldn't. There was no turning back. This is
similar to Dawn in that way, where I'm like, I get everybody's motivation, and no one's a bad guy.
What they do really well in Dawn, and I do think they do well in this movie too, of course. But by the end of that movie, Caesar says to Jason Clarke, like, I understand that you're the good one. You're one of the good ones, but we need to. It's the bad ones who are going to be coming after us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why it's going to be a war.
Right.
No matter what.
Yeah.
But he recognizes that not all humans are bad.
Yeah. And in this moment, Noah's struggling with, like, I'm not sure any of them are. Although he's only really met two, like, cognizant humans.
Yeah.
And one has betrayed him. And it cuts to, she has a gun behind her. as if she's going to kill him. I can't remember. I think she says something which you can kind of imply like if he had answered differently, she would have shot him. But I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember either.
We saw the movie like 4 or 5 days ago now. I can't believe how we're remembering every scene.
I know. He gives her Raka's Caesar symbol.
And that's when she takes her hand off the gun.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's like, he says something about it. I can't remember.
Does he say something to the effect of like hold to his truths? Not, I'm paraphrasing.
I really
like
don't
crazy,
remember what he said.
But like Raka was a real smart guy. Maybe we both should listen to him. Something like that. I don't really know. Because I think he's obviously, if he's giving her that Raka thing, he has not forgotten Raka's words.
Yeah.
And has not forgotten Raka's ideas that humans do have worth.
Yeah.
But I think whatever their worth is, he's not interested in and he fears.
Yeah. And
then they do, as you said, while in theaters, a very Christopher Nolan style ending where it's a montage, big music swelling, cutting between Noah reestablishing his tribe and May riding off to an area we don't know where, until eventually we see this big, some kind of bunker in the fields.
Yeah.
And a human comes out in like a hazmat suit, essentially. May gives her the thing that she got from that silo thing. And the woman goes back. And this is what I just realized.
Yeah.
That May can't go in there because she would give him a virus, most likely.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. And I didn't even think why she wouldn't go in there.
Yeah.
But I'm just now putting that together.
And she watches the satellites move.
Yeah, watches the satellites. So what she gave these people seems to be some kind of last piece of the puzzle that helps them communicate with other humans in the world who can still communicate.
Yeah.
And are not devolved forms of humans.
Yeah.
And it's just, this movie's so good because they're trying to establish contact and they do. And everyone is so excited. Of course they would be. And you're like, I'm excited for them because they're not alone. That's what they learn. But then immediately it's like, but what does this mean?
Yeah. And so they establish contact with someone else on Earth, right?
I feel like the people said we're blah, 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 Indiana.
Okay.
But I could
I'm
be
going
wrong.
to try and double check that in a second because I missed the Indiana thing and I was a little like, ooh, this is vague. I don't know what this is. I actually thought it had some weird thing to do with Icarus maybe, but that doesn't really make sense, just where my mind was at. So I just want to say that this takes place in LA because the airport is the Los Angeles airport.
Got it.
Because it says there's a specificity of one shot that features the remnants of the parabolic arches that define the center of Los Angeles airport.
Cool.
So that's where we're at. So we're still in America. So a couple of things I thought about with the ending. So we've talked about it. I love this movie. It's amazing. I really want to catch it at least once more before it leaves theaters. But in this movie, or I'm thinking about the future because I'm excited. I want to see 100 more of these movies. I think it would be cool if somehow these leftover humans do something and become mutants. That's an idea.
Please.
And then, it's they're planning it to be a 9-part, new part of the series. Here is my hope and my
9
thought.
more after these 3 that we just had.
No, it'd be
6 more.
5 more movies
after this one. Yeah.
So this new trilogy would be leading up to 1968 Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
And then my hope is that the trilogy after that is all post the Icarus returning to Earth. Because Beneath the Planet of the Apes does that and the whole world explodes, but I think it would be really fascinating to see the power dynamic change, and then it's are humans going to take back the Earth, or will they figure out an ending where they coexist? And what would the whole series as a whole be really about? I think it would be great if they did a trilogy after those events.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how far after. I mean, I'd love to be seeing apes on Wall Street, selling stocks and stuff like that. Not like literally, but seeing them like with
Normalized
technology,
that much, yeah.
would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it could be their own technology. But can the apes explore space at some point? That could be cool. I don't know. It's so limitless. Bradley Cooper. But yeah, that's what I think. I think that the third movie will like end with either their version of Planet of the Apes or like, a ship crash lands.
Right.
And then it's like you can watch Planet of the Apes.
Right.
68.
I love that.
Any thoughts from you on that kind of stuff?
No, I just love it.
Okay, I just was thinking about it a lot. So is that everything? Did we do it?
I'm surprised by how much we did, considering how long ago we watched this movie.
I know. So, okay, here is the plan. If you are on our Patreon, you can listen to our episode on Blade Runner, one of our best Patreon episodes that we've ever done, I would say. Sign up for free and then keep your membership if you like it. Please listen to that episode, though. It's a really good episode. And then next week, we're going to come out with Blade Runner 2049.
Wait, when does this come out?
This episode comes out on the 31st of May.
So tomorrow, this is another plug.
Uh-huh.
For local people.
Yeah.
I'm doing Zine Fest in Ashland.
Come see Jordan.
And I'll be selling some zines and other art in Ashland.
Do it.
Southern Oregon Zine Fest is what it's called.
Yeah. Do you know where it's at?
No.
Okay, while she looks that up, I'm going to tell you that next week on June 7th, we will come out with our episode on Furiosa. But in addition to that, I will be playing in Medford. I'll be playing a concert with Trevor Hanks starting at 6:30 at the Medford Pear Blossom Park. Outdoors, it's free. Everybody come, and we're playing. We are slamming. I got the band, and we're killing it. So come see that.
Southern Oregon Zine Fest is at the Bellevue Grange in Ashland.
And that's June 1st.
Yes.
Okay, great. Come out and see us and say hello. If for some reason we don't know you and you're at one of these events, say hi and say, I'm a Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes guy or girl or person. Let's go.
Woo!
Thank you for listening. Next week is Furiosa, and then we're going to take our first ever week off.
Get ready.
Good night, folks.
Ape together strong.
Wait. We need to rank the series.
Oh.
Do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. Bottom of the pile, you have Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Then I kind of have been going back and forth on this. And I think most people would disagree. I think Battle for the Planet of the Apes is a better story. But I just think I like Beneath more because of how bonkers insane it is. So I'm going to go Battle right next. I'm going to favorite. And then above that, I'm going to go with Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And then I'm probably... But I keep thinking about Rise. I don't think I can put it that low. I guess I'd have to go Escape from the Planet of the Apes next. Did really love that, though.
And Conquest is the one with Caesar, right?
Oh, yeah, baby.
Okay.
And then Rise. But those are kind of interchangeable. I feel like those to me are like the same level, and I really love. But I do feel like if I watch Rise again, I'm going to like love it. Whereas the first time I was like, yeah, pretty good. I liked it. I think if I watch it again, I'll be obsessed with it a little bit. So then that leaves us with, and it's crazy to say this, but I'm going to go with my heart. And there's some recency bias and all that, but I think I'm going to put the original Planet of the Apes movie next, which seems wrong and crazy to put it that low. But I said Rise already, right?
Yeah.
And then I think I'll go Kingdom and then Conquest.
Really?
And then Dawn and then War.
Okay.
But I think I got to put Conquest under Kingdom. But I have 4 movies that I think are better than Planet of the Apes 1968 in the series.
Yeah.
So this one to me really proves our theory correct. Yeah, but it's pretty subject to change. I really need to watch them all again to get a proper ranking.
So for me, I think it's Burton. Well, I know it's Burton is at the bottom.
Yeah.
I think I would put Battle beneath, like you. And then I think I would do Conquest.
Whoa.
And then I would do Escape.
So you liked Escape more than Conquest?
I think I did. Conquest was incredible.
Oh, I mean, we've been singing praises for these movies.
It's incredible, but I think the shock of Escape and the interest, like it was just the thought experiment of it was so flipping interesting.
Yeah.
So Escape, and then I think Planet of the Apes.
How crazy is that?
And then I think I would go Rise, Dawn, Kingdom, War.
Kingdom's all the way up there.
I think it might.
I love it. But I really, and you know what? I will let the people know when we get there. 'Cause we don't really reanalyze our stuff. But as I continue to watch this series and grow with it, I will let you know how things change. I'm ready to watch all 4 again.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Peace out.
Hey everyone, I'm Case Aiken, and I am butting in to give some thoughts about the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and that is because I am an ape head and I loved this movie. The first thing I want to bring up is that this movie did a fabulous job of setting up an interesting aspect of ape society by showing Noah's tribe as a truly unique culture that has completely moved on from human influence aside from language. The premise of them raising eagles and having this rite of passage to climb into the ruins of human civilization and ascend to the highest levels where the eagles' nests are is such a cool thing that humans just can't do. Like, there's no way that you could have a human society built around climbing into these impossibly tall forested structures and stealing eagle eggs and then raising them to bond with them. It does a great job of setting this very classic hero's journey type of starting village. Like, I whispered to my friend when we were watching this movie that this was the most Legend of Zelda-esque Planet of the Apes movie that I could conceive of. Right down to having a starting area and then a tunnel out into the larger world map. I loved the different levels of technology between the different ape societies. I loved the different level of knowledge between them all. I enjoyed that the chimpanzee was the clever one who could figure out the devices. I enjoyed that Raka, the orangutan, was a really compelling religious figure cultivating the myth of Caesar. Like, I clapped when he referred to Caesar as their first lawgiver because that ties back to the larger Planet of the Apes series. Proximus as a villain was quite compelling. I am a little bothered that it's always a bonobo that is the villain, but, you know, that's fine. More importantly, this movie shows how you can weaponize religion, and it's such an effective use here with Proximus. And then that is juxtaposed with the much purer, more optimistic, and ultimately positive take on religion represented with Raka. The biggest one I wanted to bring up, however, is the gorilla Silva, who is played by Eka Darville, who I know first from Power Rangers RPM as the Red Ranger, which is just such a funny career path for this actor. I know he was on Jessica Jones, but that's not the point. The point is that we are finally getting an amazing gorilla threat in one of these movies. This is without a doubt the best gorilla we've seen since Rise with Buck, and possibly competes to be the best gorilla that we've seen in any of these movies. He's big and menacing and doesn't seem to fit in the world. He's literally bursting through every structure that's meant either for ape or for man. Between his violent attitude and his imposing mass, it really does a great job of highlighting the menace that a sentient gorilla could present. It also shows that the way that gorillas end up in sort of the military class is in part due to the fact that they excel at it. And that's sort of a fun element there. Now, the movie follows a classic hero's journey with Noah having to leave his home to chase after his people and save them. And on the way, he finds out all these things about society and about the world that he didn't know before. And as a result, comes back changed. When he's reunited with his people, they note that he is so different, that he has a different perspective of things. What I really enjoy is that we are taking this very classic narrative style and infusing it with the revelations about the former human supremacy and then the modern society that they live in. As a side note, I really enjoy that Noah's tribe, having completely given up on the history that they had been taught, doesn't even know to refer to humans as humans. They refer to them as echoes, which I find is a really interesting way to describe them. They're echoes of the past. They sort of reflect what apes came from. The use of the eagles is a really cool thing, not just as a cultural element for them specifically, but actually representing a means of having some of these big sweeping shots that we see the entirety of the landscape and how much it's changed. And then specifically, Noah's father's eagle is able to act as this heirloom of his father, of his dead father, the way that you would have a sword or something like that, that Noah ultimately has to master. And in this case, you understand why it's so difficult for him to master it. He has this actual rivalry with this character, and their alliance ultimately at the end reflects his growth and ascendancy into his father's position. I enjoyed William H. Macy as this human trader who is now, wiring up these like cattle prods effectively for the apes to use as weapons against their foes. And it's kind of a fun thing because it's the kind of simple type of technology that you could imagine a person jury rigging, but at the same time, it's well beyond what the apes are able to do. And you can see how they'll eventually sort of grow into using those kinds of technologies themselves once apes like Noah are able to repair them and ultimately recreate them. But at this point, we're still dealing with a largely primitive ape society that then is able to rely on human technology. This movie is so much fun. It's an action movie in a way that none of the other Apes movies are. It succeeds in areas that I have really wanted Apes movies to really prosper in. In a lot of ways, this is the Apes movie that I have wanted for a long time. I would argue that this is the Apes movie that I wanted the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie to be. We've got a big menacing gorilla. We've got stakes that are similar to the stakes of the original Planet of the Apes movie, yet using modern technology to really sort of bring out characters that would have been impossible in the 60s. So I think these are all really cool elements to it. I think that it is an action movie that is fun and entertaining and really dynamic. And while I don't think that this is as strong an entry in the franchise as any of the circus movies, because those were just such sweeping epics, this is the only one that ends on a positive note. This is such a breath of fresh air in the Apes series. Like I said, it's the only Apes movie, as far as I can think of, that ends on a positive note. Considering how heavy the circus movies were, this is such a good, fresh start to a new series that doesn't just feel like a rehash of what we've already seen. It's exciting, it looks great, it's a ton of fun, while still having the depth of characters that the Apes series are known for. And I'm really excited to hear what you, Jordan and Micah, have to say about it. And I hope that the listeners who have been following along enjoyed this movie just as much as I did. So thanks so much for allowing me to butt in. And I'm back to you.